All right, you guys, it's that time for me to talk about how I overcame my fear of the dark as an adult. I talked to you guys about that yesterday. I just want to kind of just explain a little bit more about it. Oh my god. Okay, so anyway, I think that it's a big thing for people to really acknowledge, what their fears are. Just to start off with, just talk like what are your fears? And I think a lot of times we're just afraid to really put that out there. And I think that being afraid of the dark is something that it's so common. It's more common than you think. Even no matter what age you are, it's very common. And especially those that are really sensitive to energy, like empaths, psychics, mediums, any type of work like that. I think just being very sensitive. If you're a child, I think you're just very sensitive to that. But in actuality, I feel like everybody is sensitive to energy. And they feel something, even if it's not in the dark. But some people run from it, some people ignore it. It scares the hell out of other people, and they just don't like it. But sometimes, personally, from my experience, it can be very uncomfortable at first. I wanted to share a story with you guys. My first experience when, I've been feeling a certain type of way my whole life, right? But I wasn't really consciously aware of what that was. I just knew that I always felt like somebody was watching me. I really did. And I just was always freaked out by the thought of that. Like, even I've had a situation where, like, I guess what made it worse was a situation when I was a child. And I felt like, my mom's husband at the time, which was not my dad, I felt like he was looking through the crack of the door. And while I was coming out of the shower, it's not the first time that I really felt that he was doing that. And why I felt that way was because, we kind of had like this crack in the floor, those that have that, like, that wood floor in your homes. And you can kind of hear when people like walk past the door, and you can hear when they stop. And so it will be like, sometimes when I take a shower, I would hear him walk past the door completely, and then sometimes I would hear it stop. So one day, I feel like as a kid, I was just being really intuitive, and I was like, okay, I hear it stop. This time I'm gonna wrap myself in the towel, and I'm not even gonna get dressed, and I'm just gonna look. So I looked through the crack, and sure enough, I saw his glasses, and it freaked me the heck out. And let me just tell you guys this is probably the first time anybody has ever heard this story besides my husband and maybe one of my siblings. I have 4. Maybe my mom. Yeah, I think my mom might have heard it a few years ago. But I've definitely not told the story publicly at all. And I didn't think I was going to do it today. I really didn't plan, or I was thinking about talking about fear of the dark, and then this comes up. But maybe it's coming up for a reason. Somebody that's watching this, maybe you need to hear this story. So yeah, sure enough, I saw his glasses there, and it freaked me the heck out. I was nervous. I was scared. I didn't understand, and I just looked at him a different way. I already felt something from him, but then that was like the icing on the cake. So as time went on, my mom told me, like, she felt something too. She knew how I was acting, I feel. And so one time I was able to just kind of talk to her about that. So like I was saying, my mom, she kind of knew something was up with the way I was acting. So she asked me some questions and how I felt. Was I feeling uncomfortable, like what it was? And so later on in life, I ended up telling her, but at least she was conscious and enough at that point in time to really kind of like notice what was going on with me and kind of ask me about it then. So, yeah, I grew up with a older brother, of course, who would just scare me all the time, and it freaked me out so much. I also grew up with parents that lived separately. So when I would go to my dad's house, I could watch whatever I wanted to watch. And normally it would be Kill Bill or Buried Alive 1, 2, 3 if they had a 4. And if it was scarier movies like Jason or Michael Myers, whatever those type of things were when I was younger, I was just really young and my older siblings were watching it, and so I watched it, but I really wasn't prepared to watch Chucky and all those type of things. And so I really took those energies in, and it created this big fear of things. And so it started off like that. As I became an adult, I was kind of ashamed that I had that fear. And so when I had children, everything kind of changed. Like, I knew I didn't want, I started noticing like my daughter have, that fear of the dark as a kid. I knew I went through it. At first I was like, oh, it's just normal, all kids go through this. But then I started thinking like, but why do they have to? Maybe there's something I can do about this. So I actually have a book. I'm a published children's book author, and I talk about this in one of those books where I teach kids affirmations. And it was based off of my life as a dance teacher, but also as a mom with a kid that was fearful of the dark, and using affirmations to really help her out. And that's exactly what I did. I started forming these affirmations about maybe like 10 years ago. And about 10 years ago, 9 or 10 years. And I started doing these affirmations with her. I started, really just being there to comfort her. I really didn't know how I could help her with this because I was dealing with it myself. And once I noticed that I couldn't really help her, because I didn't really know what to do, because I still was dealing with the same thing. Then it really hit me. Then when I had my son and he was dealing with it, it hit me again. And I was just like, all right, I've got to do something about this. So before any class that I ever took, I've been working on this. I used to do things like cut the light off and see how far I can make it with the lights off before I cut them on. I used to do things like that. I created this game that my husband and his niece and nephews, we played, where we would close our eyes and walk around the house and do little different things and see who can get the furthest. But I mean, the lights weren't off, but we were supposed to have our eyes closed. So then that helped too. So I just did little things and was playing around with this for a few years, you guys, and just doing little things. So it definitely took time, because I started to grow in my understanding of like, okay, what am I really fearful of? What's happening here? So then I think over time, like just me evolving and going through my death experience, I just kind of was doing research and stuff, and just as I was doing all of those things, it was helping me evolve in other areas like fear. And so one time I was watching an interview and someone was talking about how really it was just, the energy of spirits present, and that she wrote on a sheet of paper something and said it out loud to the spirits, and stuff like that, and that helped her, something like that. One day I might find that clip and post it somewhere, but right now I can't do that. But anyway, so that's what I did. One day I was in the room, I closed the door, I locked the door so the kids couldn't interrupt, and I just wrote on this sheet of paper, I don't even know what I wrote. Oh my God, I can't remember. I know I said, I think I just acknowledged them. It might have been like 3 or 4 words, but I know I said, I said, please don't scare me. I was like, I know that you're here. I've always felt a presence here with me and around me, but I was just like, please don't scare me, because like I know that you're real, but I'm just tired of being in fear. I want to evolve and to grow. Oh my gosh. Oh, was that so not expected? Oh my gosh. Okay. Whoa. What am I doing right now? I'm evolving, you guys. I'm evolving. Like many people, I don't even know if anybody knows this story, but my husband, guys, it must be time for me to share my story because this is just coming and I'm getting teary-eyed. And it's nothing wrong with crying, but I want to talk. And when I cry, I don't do really well crying and talking at the same time. So, so guys, I ended up moving to another place, and then I had this assignment to do that I was telling you guys in the other video a little bit about, where we had to speak affirmations to ourselves in the mirror naked after getting out of a bath, and we had to close the door, lights off, and we just had to light a candle. And we were supposed to be doing this, and the first time I couldn't do it. I had to leave the door open, at least halfway open, and that was how I was able to even do that. But I still felt like I wasn't having the full experience, so I was kind of disappointed in myself, because I'm like, how am I going to be an adult and have kids and still be fearful of like stuff like this? I was thinking about so many things going on in my mind about mirror, the things we used to grow up saying in the mirror that we would get like dared to do, and so all those things was going on in my mind. So I was still fearful because I had never processed those things either. So as time goes on, I hope I'm not boring you guys. I hope you're not bored listening to my story. But this is just what I feel led to do today, so I'm gonna do it. I was actually in the bed. Look, y'all, I took my scarf off, okay? I was laying down like I'm about to go to sleep. I'm tired today. And I was like, you know what? No. I told them I was gonna do this today. I'm gonna do it. Took this off, put some earrings on. Y'all, I got a filter on because y'all wouldn't. I put a filter on. It just was like, let me sit down and just talk. Let me just share my life and just be as authentic as possible and just share with you guys things that I wouldn't really no one really knows. Not many people know. But I feel like it's necessary, because I'm really just tired of living life where I'm talking to people and I'm listening to them talk and speak, and it's just like so many people feel alone, and so many people feel like things are happening that they don't understand. And I know a lot of things are being revealed right now, which is great, but at the same time, it's so many things that I just want to say and just process and share with you guys. And when it's time, I know that it'll be time for me to share even more things. But sometimes I just want to just chill and relax and just talk. I don't want to have to be always trying to teach something and say I got to teach something. Somebody needs to learn something for free. You know what I mean? Like, I just got to do videos where I'm just teaching. I've been teaching for so many years. And it's just like, yeah, but I want to share my story. I want to just talk. I want to just be. Can I just be? Do I have to always get on here and teach you about meditations and how to elevate your life when you're the only one that can really do it? I can do 10,000 videos about how to elevate your life, but not until you decide to make the first step will you even do it. So to me, I'm just like, and then if I gotta show that too, right? For a long time I had so much knowledge about fear and about fear becoming your best friend and about so many different things, you guys. I mean, I've experienced a lot. I've done so many past experiences, past life experiences, hypnosis, and visualization, meditations that led me to underwater experiences and places. And it's so many things. I could be talking for the rest of this timeline about my experiences, and I don't have to experience anything else. But I know that's impossible, right? Because I'm here. So as long as I'm here, I'm going to be experiencing things in this human experience. So, but anyway, so yeah, you guys, I started to really just, I had to do that experience. I was kind of embarrassed that I couldn't do it. Other people did it, and I was just like, how the heck did they do that? And so I was like, all right, listen, there's something that has to change. I need to do something. Then all of a sudden, like, my son started having this really big thing where he didn't want to go down the stairs by himself in the dark. And then even when I tell him to cut the light on, it was like he just had this whole fear of being alone and by himself. Now, because I did a Reiki healing on him, I know what that has to do with. So I started working with him on that. I was able to see into one of his past lives. And I was able to see what happened. And if you want to know that story, leave a comment, because I can't do that on this one. But it was so sad to where I decided that I probably don't want to ever do Reiki again on my kids, because the way my gift is I see things, and I was really hurt, so hurt. So by seeing his experience. So anyway, you guys, I started finding things to do. My husband really has been just a rock in helping me every step of the way. And even like one time I went down the stairs, it was completely dark, and the basement, it was like a carpeted basement, like everything really nice and stuff. And so it wasn't like how it looked, it was just because it was dark. And my husband knew I was working on my fear of the dark. So he like grabbed my hand and he walked down the stairs with me, and we just stood there together. And he just, because he doesn't have that whatsoever. He prefers the dark, actually. He's like the complete opposite in that way. He meditates in the dark with like a cover over his head, with all the lights off, pitch black. Like it's complete. So he walked down there with me. That helped me. I was able to have my eyes just adjust. And a lot of times in life, that's what we just need to do sometimes. Sometimes we just need to be in it and just wait. Sometimes we try to move too fast in life with certain things, and we need to just wait and just sit and let ourselves adjust to where we are, to what's going on at that time. Who needs to hear this right now? Like, I'm talking to myself too, and I'm about to cry again. Y'all, hold on, give me a second. So like I was saying, sometimes we kind of try to move quickly with things, and it's always great when you have someone who can hold your hand through the process. And sometimes, I just, like, I love my husband. Y'all don't understand. Like, sometimes when you, I'm trying, y'all. I'm trying. I'm not good at it, talking and crying. But sometimes when you, I know I hear you. Thank you. Sometimes when you feel like you're going through something and you're trying to grow, right? And you're trying to evolve, and you feel like you're alone and you're by yourself, like nobody can relate to you. And you feel different, and you feel odd, and you feel misunderstood, and you feel unheard, you feel isolated, but you don't want to be. But it just feels like the more you try to be a part of things, the more you feel like you don't belong. And I definitely have that story to share. And walking down those stairs, it might seem silly to you, but to me it was a really big, huge thing for me to face, like, my fear in the face, and not run, but to face it and say, you know what? Yeah, even if I have to have someone go with me the first time, and even if you don't have anybody physically that'll hold your hand and go through your fear moments, your tough moments, your moments where you're ready to quit, your moments where you're feeling alone, and you might not have anybody to physically call. You might not have anybody to physically, console you and be there for you and give you amazing advice and speak into you. Just know that you're never alone. And for so many years, I was stuck with feeling like I was alone and going through so much by myself, but I wasn't. And my husband was the physical representation, right, of what I had my entire life that I just didn't see. I just didn't see that I was always protected. I didn't see that there were so many things that could have happened to me as a child that just didn't, because I was protected, or things could have been worse than what they were. And I just want whoever's watching this to understand that even though you don't see someone physically there with you, everyone has assigned guides, angels. I call them my spirit tribe, because there's so many of them. It's just amazing. When you know who you are and when you walk in that, you start to realize how loved you are when you don't feel like it. You start to realize that when you start loving yourself and knowing who you are within yourself, you start knowing the other parts of you. And so for me, this journey has led to me facing my fear of the dark, and then it opened up doors that were shut before because of my fear to do other things, to be by myself physically, but not feel alone in the process, and not feel afraid to be by myself, like recording this video, so many things like that. So just know that you're never alone, and that you do have animal spirits, guides, angels, ancestors. Starseed families, if you believe in that, source, the universe, God, whoever you resonate with, it's even beyond. It's just, you're protected and you're loved and you're heard. And even when you feel like you're talking and you're asking or praying or wishing for something or trying to manifest something, and you feel like you're not being heard, you really are being heard, and things are moving, but you can't see those things moving. Sometimes we have to wait and let our eyes adjust. Let our situation adjust. Sometimes we do have to move and be in action. You got to know the difference. So at that point in time in my life, I knew the difference. I said, enough is enough. I didn't feel like at that time I could be the best mother I could be, having these fears that I didn't know how to even teach my children how to come out of, because I hadn't come out of them. I didn't know. And so I went on this journey. I went down those stairs. I let my eyes adjust. And then on our way back, I went back up by myself. And he went in front of me. And I remember being afraid, because I was like, look, I would have rather him be behind me, because it's the behind me that I be like concerned about. I always feel like going up the stairs in the dark, like I was being pulled back and drawn into the darkness, and I was just going all like this. Like I pictured it in my head, and so I was like, oh my gosh, like. But no, he went in front of me, and I just kept going. I just breathed. I just start breathing. That's why I do breath work sometimes, and why it's important to me, because sometimes if you just, y'all, that's how I stopped my addiction to smoking cigarettes, was breathing. In addition to me being pregnant, and I had to stop. But even when I was surrounded by it, and when that was over, I had stopped and started a few times. But then I started noticing, like, what are the reasons why? Why am I doing this when I don't like the smell? I can't stand it being on everything. I don't do it around my kids, but I know that other people do, and I don't like it when I see that either. So like, what am I doing? And so I started practicing, I started noticing and watching when I was doing it, how I was feeling, and what I was actually doing that was making me feel that way. So I was like, well, the biggest thing I'm doing is breathing. Let me try to do that. So I started talking to my dad, because he's been smoking for a while. I started talking to my husband. I started talking to and talking to myself when I would get in those situations. And the biggest thing was that I really just like being around people and having conversations and stuff. But it also was helping me deal with some things that I need to deal with. So I began breath work and just started breathing, and I was able to stop. And I could be around it, and I could smell it, and it didn't bother me, and I didn't want it again. I started, and it wasn't just the breathing either, you guys. So it's the breathing, but it's also the other things that I was doing that went right along with that, which was learning how to love myself. I had to look up, how do you love yourself? Because I didn't know how to love myself. I had to have a death experience, and it was the experience that changed my life forever. And I literally thought I was going to die. Yeah. And I actually did. And so I've just had these different experiences, and being afraid or overcoming my fear of the dark was just one small portion of this huge puzzle that I'm going to be doing videos, and we're all going to be putting these pieces together. And when you see this masterpiece of what you're looking at right now, how I became this way, this happy, feeling free and just joyous. And sometimes I have my moments too. And it's like, that's what we need to understand. It's okay to have our moments. It's just not okay to stay in them. We got to move past them. So I'm going to leave that with you guys today. I did breath work. I walked up those stairs, and I made it up the stairs, you guys. Yes. And I just started doing things like that. Eventually, I ended up doing it by myself, walking down those stairs. I eventually held my son's hand and walked down there with him. And then he got better. And then, like years later, he started dealing with it again. And so now we're revisiting different things that we might have to do for him. Because guess what? Some things might work for you because you understand it differently. Some things might not work for your children the same way. So we've been working on that. He's been doing a lot better. In fact, the other day he came to me and was like, Mom, I did this by myself, and I went all the way down here, and I heard a noise, and I still did it, and I wasn't afraid, and da-da-da. And so it's just amazing, and it takes time. It's not anything you have to rush. So I want to leave you with that, you guys. I hope that you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, let me know. But that's pretty much what I did. I also was just walking and counting in my head, things to distract myself. But all these little things kind of helped me with overcoming my fear. And also, the biggest thing is understanding why I was afraid in the first place. Why? That's the key. You guys, remember your magic. So today, be magical, spread love, and spread your story. Peace.